In this video, I want to give real estate agents the magic questions that you can ask prospects on a cold call or circle prospecting call that will get the conversation going in the right direction without being manipulative, without being controlling, without being self-serving, and simply just doing the right thing. So the first things first is when I cold call, I do what's called assuming the name. And what assuming the name is I'm dialing and I'm like, ring, ring, ring. The person says, hello. And I'm like, hi, John. I don't say, is this John? Can I talk to John? Is John available? And I don't say, hey, John. I'm like, no, it's a question. I'm like, hi, John. And, it's assuming the name. And John will say, yeah, this is John. And I'll say, hey, John, this is Brad Mycon, real estate agent from EXP Realty. How are you? Right. And that's another magic question because nobody asks how are you anymore because all the people teaching how to make cold calls in all the industries, whether it's real estate, insurance, or anything at car sales, it doesn't matter. They're all telling you to not say how are you because that sounds like too formal or something like that. I don't know. People just say it's cheesy and you shouldn't ask because you don't care how they're doing. I actually do care about how property owners are doing, especially with people I'm wanting to build relationships with, regardless of whether or not they have a real estate need. I absolutely care about how they're doing. So I'll say, how are you? And they'll say, I'm good. I'm good, Brad. How are you? And I'm like, I'm good. Thank you for asking. And I'll say, John, am I catching you at an okay time for literally just a minute or two? And that's another question. The magic question is, am I catching you at an okay time for literally just a minute or two? And I'm saying it exactly those words in exactly that way. That's the magic question. That's another magic question. The reason that's a magic question is I'm not saying is it a good time because it's never a good time for a cold call. I'm not asking if it's a bad time because it's always a bad time for a cold call. I am asking, am I catching you at an okay time for literally just a minute or two? It's an okay time. And then I also say for literally just a minute or two because I want them to know there's a time component here. Like I'm going to time myself and make sure that I'm going to be on the phone with you for 2 minutes or less. Now, sometimes I do go over, but that's really if they have additional questions that I didn't anticipate them having, which usually only comes up if they actually have a legitimate real estate need. And if they have a legitimate real estate need, they're not really going to be mad if the conversation happens to go over 2 minutes. I'm saying this for the people, I'm saying the 2 minute thing for the people who want to just get me off the phone. I'm letting them know I'm going to get off the phone because I don't want to be on the phone with them. Like crazy people. They think I'm dying to talk to them or I'm dying to be on the phone with them for that long. No, I'm not. I don't have any need for them and they don't have any need for me. So that's how I ask that. And then they'll say, okay, well, yeah, I've got a minute. Okay, cool. Well, John, I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but my team and I or my real estate brokerage just listed or just sold or whatever a house not far from yours. And I was just reaching out to see if there's anything in the world that I can do for you. That's another magic question is you're saying, is there anything in the world I can do for you? You are not asking if they want to buy or sell real estate because every other real estate agent is asking that. And it's tired. And yes, it's simple. Yes, it's clear, but you don't want to ask that because people are just trained to hang up on that call. Even if they actually have real estate needs, they'll say, I'm not looking to buy or sell right now, and they'll hang up quickly. And the thing is, I don't want to ask that because I'm coming from contribution. I want to demonstrate that I want to help somebody. And the reason I do that is if I say, do you want to buy or sell? All these property owners immediately think that I'm only asking about immediate business. Like, do they want to buy or sell something right now? And I'm not. I'm saying, how can I help you? Because I'm looking for a long-term relationship that I'm trying to build with them because we don't know if or when they might have real estate needs in the future, 5 or 10 years from now. And if you're a real estate agent, cold calling as a major part of your business, then you're obviously trying to do this for the long haul. This is going to be a major part of your career for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So if that's the type of relationships I want to build where somebody does business with us that I called, 5 years ago or whatever, and built a genuine relationship with. So that's why I asked the question that way. And then they'll say, well, no, I'm really doing okay. I don't have any real estate needs. And I'll say, okay, gotcha. Is there an agent that you would work with if you did ever have a need? Or would you have a degree of flexibility as far as who you might consider reaching out to if some sort of real estate need ever arose, even if it was 5 or 10 years or longer from now? And people will usually say, yeah, well, I have a cousin who's an agent or a brother who's an agent, but in 5 or 10, 15 years, if they're not available, if they're not in the industry, if they're retired, then I would absolutely be open. I'll say, okay, cool. Well, the reason I'm asking that is I would certainly love to be a resource for you, even if I'm not your first choice, which it sounds like I wouldn't be. Is it okay to touch base once in a blue moon? They say yes. Okay, perfect. What's a good email for you? So the question is there an agent you would work with, that you're 100% loyal to? And then you say, okay, I'd love to stay in touch. Is it okay to stay in touch? When they say they're open to that, when they seem open to that. And then they say yes to staying in touch. Then, and only then, do I say, okay, perfect. What is the best email address for you? That's the sequence that you have to follow before asking for the email in order to have a high degree of probability of them giving you their email address and letting you stay in touch. If you just if you skip one of those questions, it's just going to make the email question a lot more awkward, and they're going to more likely say no. They still might say no in the end, but you still want to have that sequence. This is a relationship building, it's trust building, it's rapport building, it's all those things. You want to make sure that you're doing that. So that's another magic question. And then I say, okay, I gotcha. I'll send you over my contact information. Let me know if you need anything. And I don't tell them this, but what I do is I passively market to them via email with valuable information, like letting them know what's going on with home values in the area, things like that, just so that they know who I am and my team is, and that's kind of thing. And then now, if they say, yeah, we are actually looking to make a move, I'll be like, okay, got you. And then I ask more magic questions that I didn't plan on, but those are the basic magic questions that are on every call. Now, when they say they might have a real estate need in a couple of years, or they say, yeah, we're eventually going to make a move, but not right now. And I'll say, okay, gotcha. Are you looking to do something in the next 3 to 5 years? Or is it hard to say? Or I'll say, is it longer? Is it much longer than that? Or I'll say 3 to 5 years, or is it hard to say? And then they'll usually say, well, no, much sooner than 3 to 5 years. It'll probably be a year or two when my daughter graduates high school. Or they'll say, well, maybe maybe right around 3 to 5. Not exactly sure. Depends on the market. Depends on, other things. Or they'll say, no, it'll be about 5 years, or maybe a little bit longer. Okay, fine. Like you're asking these questions, but the reason these questions are magic is because I'm not saying, are you looking to make a move in 3 to 5 years? I'm saying, are you looking to make a move in the next 3 to 5 years? Like, are you looking to make that move in the next 3 to 5 years, or is it hard to say? Like, I'm trying to give them outs. This is what no salespeople give people outs. I'm deliberately giving people outs because no other salesperson does it, and it turns into a pattern interrupt. I guess that's what they call that in sales. But also, I am genuinely trying to make the prospect feel comfortable with me. So I want them to tell me no. Like if they feel at any point like they don't want to talk to me or they don't want to do anything real estate related, I want them to know that like that is no skin off my back. Excuse me, I gotta itch my nose. Sorry. Sorry, my nose is itchy. I don't know if it's allergies or what. But the point is I want them to be able to say no to me, because when they feel like they can say no to me, they will trust me more, because they'll realize, okay, this person does not have an agenda. This Brad is not trying to make me say yes or make me do something I don't want to do. He's literally trying to find out what my plan is and seeing if and when Brad might be able to be a potential resource. And that is key. Those are questions that you have to ask on cold calls to have these types of relationships. At least these are questions. This is what I do. And I've been doing this for about 11 and a half years or so across 2 different industries. Real estate now, and insurance previous to that. So total about 11 and a half years between the two of them. And this is just what works for me. It might not work for you, and other people might have another way, but this is what I would do. And they'll say, well, yeah, I'm looking to do something probably in the next year or two. Okay, gotcha. Okay, and then I'll say again, so when you do make a move in the next year or two, is there a particular realtor that you're like strictly tied to that you're already working with, or like, because I would certainly love to be a potential resource for you, between now and whenever the time comes. And sometimes they'll say, well, my cousin's an agent, so I'll probably use them. Or they'll say, no, I really don't have an agent, and I do need one because the last one that I used was 20 years ago and they retired, or whatever they say. And then you're like, okay, well, and then they, by this point, you don't even have to ask for the business, and you're not going to ask for the business at this point, but you're going to get the business by not even asking. They'll already like you at this point. You've asked enough questions that are non-threatening and genuinely helpful, and they realize that they might need a relationship with a real estate agent, and you've been a decent human being by just letting a conversation unfold naturally. And so then they're like, well, no, I don't. I'm going to need another real estate agent. I'm actually glad you called. Is there any way? And they'll even sometimes say, is there any way you can email me your contact information? I'll file it away and then call you like when I'm closer to thinking about ready to make this move. And I'll say, sure, yeah, you can, yeah. What's a good email for you? And I'll say, okay, I'll shoot you my information right over. Now, also, sometimes before then, but sometimes after that, after I get the email, I'll say, okay, listen, I don't want to take up a lot more of your time, but just out of curiosity, when you do make this move, it sounds like you're going to be listing and selling your home, when your kids graduate or whatever. Are you also going to be looking to buy something, or are you looking to rent? And I'll ask that because I don't want them to, again, I'm trying to give them outs. Like, I'm not looking for multiple transactions here. I'm just asking to see what the situation is. And they'll say, well, no, and they'll say, okay, yeah, no, we're going to downsize, or we're going to we might not downsize, but we're going to make a lateral move, or maybe we'll buy something bigger. Lateral meaning the same size and features and things like that. And I'll say, okay, gotcha. Are you looking to stay in the same city, and I'll mention the city or neighborhood, or are you looking to kind of go on the outskirts, or maybe even out of state? And I'll let them answer, and they'll tell me. And I'm asking these questions. This is, again, just solidifying myself as a consultant here. I'm a sales and real estate consultant now. Now I'm I'm asking them questions, because then I'm going to tailor my approach and what they're going to need moving forward by asking these questions. And they'll say, well, yeah, no, I'm going to do this or that or whatever. I'll say, okay, when the time comes, if you're looking to buy something as well, I can do that. I can send you homes for sale if you need. And if it's like within a year that they're going to move on this call that they tell you, then I would just say, hey, listen, like, would you like me to start sending you some homes for sale that you think might fit your criteria? And they'll say, yeah, you can absolutely do that. That's a good idea. I look on Zillow all the time, but, and that's another thing too. If a prospect says they're looking on Zillow all the time, but they don't have any real estate needs, they have real estate needs. They just don't know it yet. I'm telling you, it is axiomatic. So keep following up with them, even if they say they don't have real estate needs. But if they'll say, yeah, like, I mean, I do look on Zillow all the time, but yeah, you can send me properties or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'll make sure that this is a curated approach where everything I'm going to send you is stuff that I think you're going to like based on the criteria that you've given me and what you've told me about what you're looking for in your next home. Like, and I say, would that be helpful? That's another question, a magic question to ask. Would that be helpful? Does that sound like that would be beneficial? Like, I'm asking questions that are probably going to be a yes, but it communicates to them that I'm not forcing anything on them. And they'll say, okay, great. I'll say, okay, great. Listen, it sounds like we've covered a lot. When the time comes, give me a ring, and I'll be happy to swing by your home with my business partner and let you know what your home is worth, what it would likely sell for, but more important than that, what your net proceeds would be, and how to make sure that you get that net number that you need to make sense for you financially, because we don't want you to, we want to make sure that you're capitalizing on your investment here. And they'll say, yeah, you can come out to my home and do that. And I'll just say, okay, would you like us to do that in the next couple weeks or closer to when you're ready to make the move? And again, I'm giving them that either or out so that they feel comfortable. And again, it's non-pressuring, but I'm definitely making an ask. Like, I want to come out into your home and let you know what your home is worth. And the reason why you want to have these conversations about what that's it's self-serving, but you're not, it's absolutely benefiting them when you're like, okay, I want to come out, like don't say I want to come out and do a home evaluation for you. Whenever you're ready or whenever you would find it most helpful, I'm happy to come out and let you know what your home is worth. And we can chit chat about the potential move and how to time selling and buying and all that kind of stuff. And I can go over your different options for you and see which one makes the most sense for you. Would that be helpful? They're like, yes. Okay. And I say, okay. They say, yes, it would be helpful. Okay. Would you rather do it closer when you're ready to make the move, or would you rather do it in the next couple weeks? And then I let them answer. If they say, oh, we can do it in the next couple of weeks, boom, you just built a relationship with somebody, and now they're about to meet with you. Part of the reason you want to meet with them is because, yes, you're wanting to offer them value and you're wanting to build a relationship with a genuine relationship, but they have a real estate need. They have a real estate need. So you want to meet with them because if they meet with you, as long as you're offering value when they meet with you and you're really being helpful and you're putting their needs first, they're probably going to want to do business with you if they're willing to meet with you just off of a cold call like that. Some people will take a little bit more follow-up calls to end up setting the appointment, but sometimes that's fine. That's normal, and you should respect and expect that. But these are the questions to ask, and this helps them. And you're like, okay, great. Like, they're like, yeah, you can come out. Okay, let me pull up my calendar. While I'm pulling up my calendar, do you have any particular dates and times that you think might work well for you and your spouse or you and your whatever, if it's themselves or whatever? And they'll start to tell you when they might be available, but you're pulling up your calendar and you'll say, okay, gotcha. And I'll tell people, usually we do our appointments in the afternoon or early evening. And usually we try to avoid the morning, but if you absolutely need a morning appointment, let me know and I'll promise I'll make that work. And I'm saying that because it is true. It is 100% true that that's how my team and I work. We do our appointments in the afternoon as opposed to the morning or the evening. Potentially we do it as well. And then they'll say, well, okay, like, yeah, like I can do pretty much afternoon is fine. And I'll say, okay, gotcha. I have a 1:30 or a 3:30 on either Wednesday or Friday. Which works better? Do either one of those work for you? Or sometimes I'll say, which works best for you, instead of saying, do either one of those work for you? Some people use that tie down and say, which works best for you. It forces the prospect to choose between the times. But I really don't, again, I really don't always like to use those tie downs because I'm trying to communicate to this person that literally, like, I'm just casually having a conversation. Yeah, like we can swing by, no big deal. It's not. Listen, I might be jonesing at the fact that I'm about to set an appointment, but the fact of the matter is, I don't want them to know that I'm jonesing for the appointment or that I'm excited about the fact that I am going to get an appointment. You don't want to blow your wad too early, as they say. So really, you just want to let them know, like, hey, casually, like, yeah, you let us know when you're free. But I also, like, I'll tell people what's on our calendar. I'll say, listen, we look booked up on Tuesday. We look like we're pretty booked up on Tuesday. So could you do Wednesday or Thursday? And I'll do that if it's true. But also because I want them to know that we're busy and that we don't just have a million, if you don't act like if you have complete flexibility and say that you can meet with them whenever they want, there is psychologically, I don't care if they say it or not, psychologically, you're telling them that you have nothing better to do but meet with them. And that, in their mind, often makes you devalued. And so you really, really, really don't want to do that. You kind of want to talk about your schedule. I'll look at the calendar and say, okay, it looks like my business partner and I are busy on this day, or we're busy in the afternoon on this day, but we could do early evening or whatever. It's just conversational. I'm not trying to make this up. This is not contrived. This is not manufactured. This is absolute truth that I'm just conveying to them. Now, if the calendar's wide open, I won't necessarily say, oh, it's wide open, but I'll say, okay, gotcha. I have some time on Tuesday at 1:30 or 3:30, or Thursday at 1:30 or 3:30. Would either of those work for you? I don't tell them that I'm free all week. Again, if they ask, I certainly will tell them. I'm not going to lie, but I'm not just going to convey that I've got nothing better to do than meet with them. And if I do have nothing better to do than meet with them, then I'm not doing my job at making cold calls. I'm not making enough cold calls. You should never have enough time like this, unless when you're first starting, you should. So these are the magic questions. Then you set the appointment, and you're like, okay, gotcha. I'm gonna send you over a calendar invite. Yeah, I'm gonna send it via email, and I'm gonna text you my information as well because you don't have my number. So feel free to save my cell phone number, and then my partner and I will see you, Friday at 5 or whatever, and then you let that go. So that's how I incorporate magic questions into this whole way of building relationship slowing. Did you see how I'm slowing it? It's slow. It's not snail pace slow. It's methodical slow. So it's not slow just for the sake of being slow. It's slow to be deliberate and methodical, and letting them, and that demonstrates that I'm a professional to them. And many of them will respond well to that. Now, some people, again, you can't, people are not robots. So you can't guarantee how everyone's going to respond to this approach. So sometimes you kind of have to go off the cuff. But if you're new to this and you're trying to get better, this is an approach that works. You can use this as your default approach. And then when you get prospects who throw you for a loop because of what they say or how they say it, well then, okay, if you need to go off script and go off the cuff a little bit and do what feels right in the moment for you, do that. But stay with this method first as a first default, and then branch off if you need to. If you liked this content, if this content was helpful, please drop something in the comments to let me know that. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel. It really helps support the channel, and it also lets me know what type of content that you guys like. This was deliberately a more extended video because I wanted to make sure that I was offering real value in a concrete way that you could actually follow, instead of just some generic advice where there's not enough meat to really be able to incorporate it. So I hope that helps. See you on the next one.